Well, hello there. Back again. Now, I was going to get on earlier, but then I found myself in a squad, and you know, one of these ones where things went a little bit on the southerly side, right? And I don't mean that's because it got warm and sunny. No, 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 no. Unfortunately, hmm. This is one of the things, and I'm certain I've mentioned it before because I'm painfully repetitive. I try not to be, but it happens. I think most of us are that way at some point, right? At any rate, I know that I probably had made a commentary along the way somewhere about squatting and, uh, you know, obviously the last long rant that I did was the difference between two-mans and fuller squads, and if you've got major discrepancies within your squads, or somebody who's just not keeping up, right, for some reason, or somebody who's just way ahead, and you want to try to even those things out. But another thing that I touched on, but I didn't really talk about too much, is the 3-4 man. Now I know I've talked about it before. You don't really need to say too much. I probably said exactly the same thing. If you're going to run a 3 or a 4 man, it needs to be, how should I say, kind of like top of the class for the league, right? So, for me, obviously, I know my stuff the best, and I'm going to consider to run a 3 or 4 man in champions, that what you really need yeah, see, he's linked. I'm not going to win this. Because as long as he's linked, unless we can get rid of the link. Oh! I think I had some help from friends, hopefully. Although I'm not much happening now. Uh-oh. We might have got him with that right there. A little bit of Oh, bless your soul. Uh-oh. Another one. I can't keep taking these. And a sword? Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's it is what it is. No, but with 3 or 4 man, they really got to be solid. And so, for example, I dropped in and we were running basically a 4-man for the majority, and everybody was over 6K, and we were losing the majority of the times. And that's just a matter of, I wasn't paying attention, my bad. Hopefully that makes up a little bit of ground for me. Where am I getting pinned down from right now, huh? I saw him far too late. What do we have going on anyways? Alright. Huh. Alright. Yeah. I see. Yeah. Multiple swords. that's less than helpful. I just have too many people on me out here. Don't seem to have a whole lot of help, do I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, so when you see stuff like that, you wonder, what's your team doing? If there's 5 people all clustered around me, this guy's moving on now, but those 4 plus this one now, what were the other 4 people of my team doing when there was nobody else on the battlefield? Right? You see this all the time. I think people get tunnel vision and they just don't actually see the battlefield, right? In totality. Yeah, this match is toast. It's over. I don't know. I'm probably, because I was mucking around a lot in this one, I'm probably going to do very poor in the scores. I'm going to take a hit. But it is what it is, right? Yeah. And the thing of it is even now, look at how many of them are actually trying to do anything, move forward, right? Nothing. All of them are still just trying to fight in the back, not moving forward at all. What can you do sometimes? It is what it is. Uh-oh. What the heck happened there? Yeah, I could drop a Titan, but why? Why? At that point, you're just waiting for the game to end so you can try to get on to something else. That seems to be how it's been going for me lately. And because I think I'm at, geez, I'm at a 50-50? 54. Yeah, you know, like I was saying with that group, we just took a I think we took 2 losses for every win, right? And like I said, everybody was over 6K. Everybody was over 6K, but it wasn't like when I run with the Ven. You know, yeah, because league ranking is not the same as skill, right? League ranking is a certain level skill, a certain level gear, and a certain part of the level is how much you play, because time is another factor. There are people that play a lot to get those scores, and there are people who don't play half as much to get scores that are nearly the same. And so league ranking is a good idea as to what their baseline is. To me, it's two formal entry-level kind of skill points. The first skill point is as you cross and get into champions. Being able to stay above the bottom of champions is the first marker of skill, because it's the first real wall anybody hits where they struggle even if they've got good gear, right? The next wall that most people hit is that consistently going over 6K, right? But after that, within the game itself, there's no other real markers, right, that you can look at and you can say, this is a skill marker, because there's markers below 5K, but let's be fair, they don't really matter that much, because most people can get through those. They're the ones that are those set your base skills, and your base skills get you to the bottom of champs if you've got decent enough gear. And I think that's true of just about everybody. If you've got decent enough gear, and how decent your gear needs to be coincides with your baseline skill. If your baseline skill is pretty low, you need pretty good gear. If your baseline skill is pretty high, you don't need as good a gear. And and why do I say baseline skill? Because not everybody has the same skill caps. We'd like to say that everybody is equal, but they're not. No matter how much I play, I will not be as good as person X. No matter how much person C plays, they will not be as good as person H. And as much person H plays, they may or may not be as good as me, for example. So but unfortunately, we are not all given the same gifts and the same talents. And so our baseline skill level varies. Wow, this game was... I hate it when I drop in and the game's like 20 to 30 seconds in motion already, because then I've got like no chance to pick up an early beacon to kind of help me get my orbital strike going, right? And it's kind of a big deal. I mean, it's by no means the end of the world, but it's kind of a big deal, because oh, look, they got that thing all mined as shit. Great. I'll take 0 mines in the ass, please. Good, I got him. I don't care what happens after that. I'm running now, though. Ah! Stupid Toulouse and leeches. Yeah, so you ate it going after me. Thank you! Let's muck with this one. I totally lost my train of thought. Oh well. Anyways. The 4 of us though, we were getting, win 1, lose 2. That was kind of how it was going. And these are all, reasonably skilled players. Like I said, these are all people over to mid 6K. I think one of them was even in the 7K territory. And, You know, we just had a hard time out there. So you gotta really have some pretty, I'm just gonna say, fat players, right? I mean, if you consider me as, say, the bottom of the mids, right? Bottom of mid champion for skill, okay? Well, you gotta have 4 people like me, preferably better than me, really, when it comes down to it. But that's what you really need, and they've got to be relatively fat with their hangers too, right? And otherwise, what's going to happen is the matchmaker is going to be pretty brutal, because at 3 or 4, it's actually going to try to find full groups for you, and it's just not social. You know what I mean? What are you doing, bud? So, and that group was not that. The other thing too is you know, you ended up. This was a lot of classic mixed hanger running, and by that I mean the people had you know, a brawler or two, they had a long baller or two, and they had a beacon runner, right? And yeah, I was partially invested. That's what happens. Okay. And so we would start out real strong, you know, getting the beacons, laying it down. In most cases, we started out 3 beacons up. But then, once they lost their beacon runners and the 1 or 2 brawlers that they had, they fell back to their long ballers. And basically, this happened so many times. I just wanted to take my head and wrap it on the table. Is, you know, we'd get out there, we'd press, we'd get those first 3 beacons. I'd be out there pressing for 4th or 5th. I'd finally lose my bot, and all of a sudden, you know, we're losing middle. We'd be starting to fight back for middle a little bit, maybe hold on middle for a little bit, but eventually they'd take middle and push us back to 2. Now we're still up on the beacon bars at this point, so we're still trying to fight hard. And but then, you know, my guys are in majority plus them. You know, you don't know what you're getting on the rando side. The other 2 to 3 of them are falling back now to their campers, right? Because now we've lost. They see the center going down. They're trying to long ball the people in the center to you know, to try to defend it, I guess, rather than actually go out there. And then we'd lose it, and then eventually they'd push their way through the second, and by the end of almost every single match that we lost, they were in our spawn camp, and I was like the last one left. And I don't even kid. I don't even try to be hyperbolic or mean or inflate my own worth out there at all. It's just, that's just how it went, you know. And the few that we won, you know, it was just enough so by the end of it, I about broke even. All right, I think I was like 1 point or 2 points up. For all the time I spent. And you can see my win rate, you know, down, 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 right? Because before I started the last couple of squads I've been in, I was, what was I, 72, 74% of my win rate, and now I'm down at 54, so I'm down 20% now. You know, I want a squad. I really want a squad, but again, it's not a matter of whether or not you like the people. It's not a matter of whether or not they're your friends. It's a matter of whether or not do you want to get ahead, right? And you know, if you're gonna squad 5 or 6 man or 2 man, 3 or 4, but only if you've got, like I said, you know, consider me, you know, if for champs anyways, for champs, you know, I wouldn't want to have 2 or 3 people less than where I'm at, because I just don't feel like we would be able to do enough against what the matchmaker would put us up against. Potentially anyways. And depending on what time of day you go and how busy it is, man, that could be like every battle. You're getting up against 4, 5, 6-man squads of heavily decked people, you know, because it's going to base it all off the top guy and your little 3 or 4 man, you know. On the plus side, I did the evening before, and I saw that Queenie had taken the opportunity too, is to get in on some of the Burrs bottom out squatting. I always enjoy that one. I think it's a great challenge. You get to kind of see how you measure up and how long you can last, right? I always like that one. But I don't do it that often though, because a lot of times I don't know. Well, you know what? He doesn't always do bottom out either. Sometimes he does those extermination runs forever. and then when he does get around to doing the squatting, he's doing like one of the custom ones. You know what I mean? And where they don't count towards points, or where you're only allowed to use one hanger or something like that. And I don't usually enjoy those ones so much, so I tend to really try to. I almost overcommitted there, didn't I? That me. No, I thought I was better than that. No, I didn't. Not really. Because here I go again. But you know, I don't really like those ones when they're the special ones, especially if they limit your hangers, because, you know, I like to use all the tools at my disposal. That's just the way it is. I didn't get out of it that time. I was hoping that I'd be able to zip away in time, but I was too low and he was too charged up. He got me on the first hit. Oh, what do we got going on there? We got an Atlas. Atlas in the air. Alright. Should we, do we dare? I don't know if we dare or not, right? We might though. We might though. See, look at the shield. It comes back up before my rotten thing can get to it, right? See, and this is what I was saying before. Generally when I do this, somebody comes after me almost instantly, right? Not that I would ever do that to anybody. So therefore my complaints are legitimate. That's the concept. Oh man. Yeah, I'm not natural to the support role, so sitting back trying to get this guy all, you know. You know, I can tell I haven't been too effective either, because I haven't picked up much speed from people getting assists off my darn shield breakers. So I know I haven't been doing too much to P411, not yet anyways. We'll work on it though, we'll work on it. Uh-oh, I think this guy's coming my way. He is! Oh, thank goodness. I think I was number 6 in that one. But, you know, I step outside my normal boundaries, and that's what happens. Down the Tuberville you go. But the bonus is, if you win, it's not a loss. So, oh, 3. Much better than I thought. Okay. Well, you know, I always say I'm happy with top 3. Preferable top 2, but top 3 is always, always a great place to be sitting consistently. Yeah, I mean, considering I really didn't do much of anything, I'll take that. Shit. Pardon my French, but you know, that could definitely be worse. You know, the one thing that I'm just kind of waiting for now is another sale, because I really would like to try putting some ultimate storms on this, and I just don't have any spares, and I need to level them up. But I'm not leveling them up unless I've got a 35 or a 40%er, you know, something where I can get a reasonable discount, because it's expensive to level those stupid things. You know, and then I'm hoping that, you know, because we're going to have, you know, 9 days from now, we'll be in a new event, and I'm hoping, because they've done it in the last couple of nights, they do it again, they do another throwback, because the throwback is how I got the Havocs. It also gave me this HE I never use, that I spent a painful amount leveling up, but these were the real important thing. The only problem with it is I need one more, or I need a better bot to put it on. It's not bad, but I want something else that a little bit more friendly aligns with it. I thought about moving them over to the Lancelot, but I was like, you know, nah, I really don't need to try to make that any shorter range than it already is. A lot of people mix them up when they put them on these, but you know, I'm having reasonable success with this at this point, so why break up the set? No, I'm just waiting for right now for a better opportunity to place them, because they're super dangerous. I'm really hoping that if they do another throwback thing, that they either dole out another Griffin, highly unlikely, I don't think I'd get that lucky, or they would dole out something. Actually, what I really want more than anything right now, because there's such a shortage of them in the ultimate lineup, is light weapons. So I'll take any. I'll take Halo. We're not going to see the arms, I doubt that. I would take Blaze, and I would take more Shredders. Any one of those. I have like 1 Blaze and 3 Shredders. And I have so many more bots that I could use light ultimate weapons on. It's not even funny, you know. And that's why I said before too, I would love it if they would finish off a couple of sets. Let's get the regular Punishers out there. Let's just finish off the classics, right? We've got these ones, Halo, Glory, and Corona, right? So why not? And then, because they're just ones I personally like, and they've been around a long time, and they have a good range on them. Is, you have the Dragoon and the Hussar. I'd love to see the Marquise under there. And since they have dumped so many Scourges out there, that the small Scourge or the small Gus would be nice, but I don't really. My ultimate preference is really to get a small Punisher and a small variation of Hussar, the Marquise, or whatever the heck that thing is. Oh, let's see what we get this time. Let's see. I don't know. I have not been having much fortune lately. And that's okay. You know, I've talked about it before that, you know, you have these things where you go up and you go way down and you go way up and you go way down, and you guys haven't seen me go down. You might be watching me going down right about now. My time may have finally come. Uh-oh, I see TC. Do I see any other XOs? No, he's by himself. Kill him! He's dangerous. You gotta get rid of him. And quite honestly, any Teth you can get rid of, you should get rid of. You know, until they nerf the unstable conduit, I could not kill another Teth with this if that Teth was not also the old spinning fire of doom kind. Because they could just out-damage me with pretty much any ultimate weapons, you know? Trying not to let me have my fun, aren't you? That's fine. Oh my god, they got 3 of them. I didn't realize they had so many. I was only looking at the one. Well, that's good to know. Alright, holy flyer stuff. I wonder where this goes. I hate taking these things just because I don't ever seem to know where they go. And you don't always want to go where they go, right? Oh, I have an XO on my side? I'm not even familiar with that guy. I'm not really a fan of that kind of name. But each their own. I couldn't get away. That is the one thing that about the Lancelot that's a little bit on the tough side, is that it has really no defense against the sword, right? It's the one thing like about this thing right here is it has a form of defense against the sword. You know, it's this little blast thing. In fact, if they come at you too many times, you can kill them with it. some more beacons. Looks like he's headed that way. Pathfinder. Oh, looks like it's going to be XO on XO over there, so I'll let those two have some fun. We'll try to come down here and bring a little chaos. It. There were some well-equipped people on the field. I know TC is very well equipped. I don't know about the other guy, but I assume that if he got into XO, he's very well equipped. And XO at the top. Not bad. And they've got good players. Like I said, my thing about it is whether or not you feel like you're in sync with people, right? And I don't always feel like I'm in sync with them. My preference is to squad with other people than to squad with them, although I like them and I like being with them, and I think they're good guys. They're always very supportive. I've got nothing bad to say about them. I only talk in terms of the very finer aspects of combat, when just simply having a group that you can squad with reliably together is not enough. You can call me picky. You can say that I'm expecting too much in terms of being able to make progress or whatever, but that's just how I look at it. You know, I play this game for the points. You know, and so I legitimately try to be mindful of the points and how different things affect that aspect of the game. Now, I suppose at some point in time, when there's a change in my lifestyle, I will say to myself, well, I'm not going to spend money on this time, you know? Because I didn't always buy the best of the best. I generally was very meta-oriented because I could be competitive at the top with one or two meta items. Think about it this way, like this spot here that I use at the beginning. This is my first real incarnation of this build in this game, right? This was my first real thing that I came up with when the test came out. And I have been able to run matches. When it first came out, I was able to run from beginning to end with one bot. As it sits right now, that's still very possible. That's not the standard, but it's a very, very, very much still a possibility. And so I have a tendency to be really the type that says it's worth the investment to get at least one of the offensive metabots every time that they come out. You know what I mean? It just is. Now you don't have to go overboard with them, but it would absolutely behoove you Whoa, that guy's got a lot of healing helping him. My goodness. It's okay. We got him pinned down at this point, so. Here's the other thing to remember too. When you're going through the game, start from the position of going for the win. And when it looks like the win is going to be hard pressed, start seeking to protect your position by going for damage. If, however, it looks like you're still going to pull the win out, or can pull the win out, work your way back into tactics for acquiring the win, as opposed to tactics for getting damage. Uh-oh. Oh, this is no good. I don't know what to do here. You know, I really can't. Can I get out of here? Well. It didn't matter at that point. When I got shot into the wall, I got all discombobulated. What do we got going on here? This kind of map I like. I actually like the Mauler. I like the Mauler a lot, really. It's over. Never mind. Don't even get to have fun. Here's a question, though. You know, it's an easy question. When people ask, does this game have a skill requirement? There's a lot of people who say no. A lot of people say it's just whether you're in a squad, or it's just how good your gear is, or how good your gear is, and if everybody in your squad has the good gear, or how much money you spend, and blah, blah, blah. There's a real easy way to figure it out, right? How many people do you see that are able to You know, I'm a mid skill person, right? At least that's how I rate myself. I don't know. Maybe objectively from the outside, somebody might rate me lower, somebody might rate me higher. Who knows? But I rate myself as kind of, like I said, the bottom of what I would consider to be a mid champ. So I call myself a mid. But if I look at, everything's got a range on it, right? I put myself at the bottom. I just get into it, right? Well, all you need to do to prove that, it's just the bot, right, is build a bot like this. This one has no ultimate gear at all. This is all just pure meta. Build that bot, and don't do what I did when the unstable conduit was still at 25% healing and like 20 defense points when it first came out, and these things were like indestructible. No, try it now. Try now to run entire matches with a steel teth and these, and I very regularly get double-digit kills. I very regularly get 10, 12, 14 kills. Not every match, but every set of sessions I go down, I'll get like that. I had one last time. I had a good number. I had 18. So if there's no skill involved, then every single player that runs this basic setup, which is just running your head jet, your death stretch, and your pistions on a teth, because the steel teth, I'm telling you, it's not the deal breaker. It's not. And you're not able to, or those people are not able to consistently take the number one slot, consistently take top damage, consistently be able to get 6+ kills every single time they drop that bot, and even go all the way to the end of the match over and over and over again and get those high numbers. If they can't do that with that bot, well, what's the difference then? What is it? If it's not skill, what is it? All these other people got bots comparable to this, and they're not generating those kind of numbers using that exact same bot. What is it? Why is it then that I'll drop into a bot like a Heichi and get my ass handed to me, and somebody else, like I've seen on a couple occasions, rips with them? And you can't say it's because I don't have the gear. I got that thing decked. So if it's not skill, what is it? See, that's the thing. Here's another good example, real easy one. I see guys over 6K running Crisis. If you ever see anybody in MK3 Crisis with MK3 weapons and they're not over 6K in champs, ask yourself why. Because there are guys running those over 6K in champs. So if it's gear, not skill, why would one person be low champs or even lower, while another one be mid champs? I'm not even talking skill, just in terms of even league ratings. Why would one guy be mid 6Ks and another one be, barely over 5K? Same thing, Crisis Reaper, all MK3. What's the difference? I mean, if it's a pay-to-win game, why isn't the guy that's got that gear up at mid champs? Why isn't it? The problem with it is everybody knows what the answer is. Everybody just hates the answer. That's all. And they hate the answer because, well, like I said at the very beginning, people's skill caps are different. Not everybody's created the same. Some people are going to skill cap before other ones for their baseline. Now, they can improve from there, and then that depends on how quickly they adapt, how adjustable they are, how perceptive they are, all of these other factors, right? Even something like IQ matters, right? Because that is just simply how quickly you manage information, right? It's processing speed. I mean, it's more than that, but an easy way to look at it is processing speed. And so, after that, once you hit your base, the rest is all just how much time do you spend playing, right? And that's something I learned from all the other games on when I did like a lot more competitive clan type of stuff. Time is really a huge factor, massive. You can't even begin to underestimate the value of time in game. What would be a good comparable to that? Oh, well, an obvious one, of course, skiing or snowboarding. If only I were kidding. Why is that the comparison? Well, when I was younger, when I was 19, I moved out of the house and I moved to Colorado. And I originally went there to go to school, but I ended up going there instead and moving into a local little apartment with some guys working at the local resort and housekeeping, because it gave me a resort pass, an employee pass to the ski lifts. And I spent a couple seasons being a ski bum, only snowboard. It was really first generation snowboard. I started when my first snowboard I ever tried still had a swallowtail, okay, and a convex back end. And it changed quite a bit, even within the year that I was out there. It changed massively. But that's what I did. And the thing about it is what got me into skiing in the first place is I had a friend who was a very, very good skier. See, you can't get away from those things sometimes. And he'd been skiing for years and years and years. But there's kind of a trick to it, right? I grew up in the Midwest. There's nowhere good to ski here. So if you want to learn to ski the mountains, you've got to go to them. You got to go on vacation or whatever. His family would go once or twice a year. Where'd that guy go? Oh, there he is. For a week or two at a time. Their snowbird in Utah was their personal favorite for all of that stuff. And 10 years of skiing later for him, 15 years for his father and stuff, they're very good skiers. He's a very good skier. Well, I never had that, right? I didn't grow up with that. I grew up instead camping and stuff. That wasn't what I did. But when I moved out to Colorado, I was up on those slopes 4 to 6 days a week for 2 full seasons. So what happened by the end of it? Well, their support network, kill those little guys. Out of here. That thing goes down. Titan Slayer. Titan Slayer. Oh, anyways, the skiing thing. So, you know, I got to go up on the slope a lot. If you consider from the time that they first opened until the time that they closed in the spring. And then also I did go to British Columbia up on Whistler Blackcomb, and I did, like, say, go snowboarding up on a glacier in the middle of July. So during those 2 seasons or 2 years, I got many weeks back to back, like I said, 4 to 6 days a week on the mountains. So what happened? I was as good as him after him doing over a decade. Why? I know you love that question from me. Why? Well, think of it. How many years? Okay, 10 years. Let's say he averages 3 weeks in the mountains a year. That's 30 weeks. I do November, December, January, February, March. So November, we'll just go. We'll even take. Well, nah, we had snow. November, December, January, February, March. So you got 5 months there. So 20 weeks times 2 seasons, 40 weeks. That's why. I had 40 weeks of training in 2 years, and he had 30 weeks of training in 10. See, that's where gameplay matters, how much time you put in, right? You may not think that time matters. You may think, oh, the skill is based upon my knowledge. A lot of the skill is based on your ability to function in a near autopilot state. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Muscle memory buried deep in your system, so your responses, your actions, your everything like that. You don't have to consider what you're doing. you can just do it, right? And that comes through high repetition. That's why everything that you see, like when I used to do shooting, for example, I used to do competitive shooting and had a reloader, because, you know, let's face it, if you're dumping 500 plus rounds a week without your dry fire training, that's a lot of money. So I had a reloader. So, you know, I'd spend a couple of hours every week loading rounds up for the weekend shoots. But that came down to it. When you started finding out what it took for the pros to do what they did, you're talking there was like a minimum number of rounds, a minimum number of hours that they would even consider capable of getting you up into the ranks. Didn't matter how good you were, right? If you were a natural or not, right? That's what you needed to do to get up in those ranks and stay up in those ranks, regardless of what your natural skills were. And so you can't get around the fact that you need to spend the time. That's what I'm not doing right now. And if I want to get better with any of the new bots, with any of the new weapons, if I wanted to get better with the Kaji, what I would do is I would start dropping that first every match over and over and over again until I felt like I'd hit, for my own personal standards, what I consider to be actually a functional skill with the bot. Now, as you can see, you never see me drop it, so I don't have a functional skill with the bot. This is what I said is one thing that I find, but I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes. I don't know how much time he really puts in, but this is one thing I give Wolfblood in particular for credit on. You know, I watch that guy and his stuff bounce from bot to bot to bot, and he seems to bounce between them very comfortably. And so I will give him a kudos for that, because for me, unless it exactly matches my gameplay style, I have to adjust to the bot. There's just all there is to it. And yes, I am waiting for this to count down because I'm tired of it. I've been canceling these requests. I've been canceling these requests pretty much all afternoon, and I'm tired of it. And I just wanna do my thing, and that's all. And that's it. So yes, you got to put the time in. Time matters. He who puts the most time in is going to have an advantage. So think of it this way. Your base skill says where you start from. How much time you put in is your refining from there, right? Once you've attained your baseline, the most that you're going to get off your natural abilities without practice, right? Without lots of practice, right? That baseline is where you're at. All the hours and stuff where you really try to put into improving come after that to improve that baseline. And now that's where, you know, the race comes in. This is where, you know, how dexterous you are, how perceptive you are, how how smart you are will affect it. You know, who you squad with, how much, it'll all affect how quickly you move away from your baseline. For that, I'll use another example. I saw this video. It was a guy who was brand new, starting to work on the railways, and they were showing him trying to drive a stake, and he kept hitting it off angle. He kept knocking it down. And then they showed him a year later, and he was almost perfect, but he still had a little clunker here, right? Then they showed him at 2 years. Perfect. It was like 4 swings. Beautiful. Boom, boom, boom. That thing was all the way in, right? If you go and you look at like the Japanese mentoring system, you know, for the guys that do sushi, for example, it doesn't matter who you are or anything like that. You're going to spend get this, I was stunned. 2 or 3 years just making the rice for sushi, just to make that white rice so that you get it perfect every time. 2 to 3 years. But if you think about it, what happens then is if you end up on that railway or working in that restaurant, right? It doesn't matter then if you've got a 100 IQ or a 115 IQ. It doesn't matter if you've got super high dexterity or average dexterity, you know, for cutting, using knives or anything like that. It doesn't matter if you're hyper perceptive or anything like that. That much time guarantees that everybody who starts that and sits there for 2 to 3 years making rice, that they are going to all end up in exactly the same place by the end of it, right? Now, some might take a little longer to get to that end, but they're all going to get there. So that's the way you have to also look at the skills in these games. Anything, pretty much. It's not whether or not you can get there. It's how long does it take. And you have to be realistic about what it takes for you to get there. Everybody's different. And because those skills are inherently a race, not because people try to make it a race, but some people are faster and some people are slower at developing new skills, or in certain areas and better in other areas, blah, 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 you know what I mean? But recognizing and accepting that, and then just working through it, right? Putting in the time as you need be, right? Making sure you get enough matches in. Like for me, if I was not able to make steady progress, I would put more time in. I really would. But because I can make steady progress when I go on, where am I at even right now? 66.39. So I came in at around 65.50, upper 65.50s, right? And because I've managed to place high and get wins, I can move up that chain relatively steadily. And so, and look, I've moved up from 54 to 60%. You know, if you can't get into good squads, if you can't get a good two-man going, solo, and work on your skills. The best way to work on your skills, at least for me, and I can only go from my experience, right, is whatever I'm weak on, that's what I have to drop the most. So if I want to get better with it, so if I want to get better with this little bastard right here, then this is who I have to drop the most. I have to drop him more than anything. I'd have to drop him first every time. I have to drop him in every single match, period. And I will get better. And then I'll get to a point where it's like, I don't need to think about it anymore, and then I know I got it, right? Same thing for all these. If I really, really said, okay, it matters to me, I want to get better with this Heichi, I just got to drop it over and over and over again. It's repetition, 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 repetition. And that's why I say, you know, what comes off your baseline, what matters is how much you play. You want to, here's another way to look at it. You want to really kick ass when you get into a two-man or in a squad. You want to be the Mac Daddy. Well, don't wait to squad to practice. Solo, 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 solo. Play, 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 play. Don't wait for squads. You know, this goes back to what I was saying in my one last longer rambling, you know, is that you know, the bots and the bot types and the bot gameplay types are dictated by independence or dependence. And it's not about whether or not you got an independent personality or a dependent personality. It's about the play style. And it doesn't matter whether or not I'm independent. There are some bots that require a dependent play style. This is partially why I'm not a real fan of some bots, right? But so you got to recognize those things and you got to work within them. And you can learn a play style that's not natural to you, but just think of how much more work it takes. And if that's the route you want to go, then be prepared to put the time in. I look at it this way: if you, whoever is listening to this, if you want to get better than what you are, add an hour of gameplay just soloing to every single day. It's gonna make you better. Oh, look at this, I'm in a wall again. Now I can't get the beacon. Oh, I got it. Oh, because he didn't get all the way in. I found on this beacon sitting on the edge like that, it doesn't like activate. But yeah, time. The better you want to be, the more time you have to put in. No way around it. There's no such thing as being a gifted winner. I don't mind that one going down. I was kind of waiting for it because I lost a weapon. And, you know, it's just hard to do as well when you're missing a weapon. Did I not? Oh, it was just really slow to drop. I was like, did I not click on that? Oh, look at that. I got a little bit of a lag thing in the corner. I don't usually see that. Well, that's not good, is it? Alright. Ooh. Why am I... Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. Jeez. You know, I don't see that very often because I use a wired connection, not a There's a guy who bolted. Let's go back over here. We need another beacon. And my team doesn't seem to be holding on to it real well. So this is close. Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll do this. We'll come around the corner here real quick like. Oh, you ran. Motherfucker. Twice now he's gotten away from me. guy's desperately trying to tee off on me. Watch him, he'll come back this way now. Come on over, bud. There he is. You know, on the plus side, the more he's worried about me, guess what he's not doing? He's not going after anybody else. Come on, guys. I can actually go down here. Uh-oh. Alright. Oh, well, my team's toast. Alright, let's go back here. If I jump, I'll go past it. I gotta try to walk to it. Damn it. We can stop the clock, though. Oh! Holy cow. Top 3. Woo! Look at this. You can't tell me a guy at 5,000 could only do 100k damage. 2 beacons, 1 kill, 298, and then he bailed. So. And because you killed, but then you bailed, 2 home beacons and 1, 298k, and She was self-destructed. Well, you know, I've lost track of how many matches I've put in now. But where are we? I'm not gonna try to. I've basically made 100 points here since we've been chatting with all my pauses and everything. I'm back up to a 60% win rate. I'll say I'm good for now. I may drop in a little later. I do have a short I'm going to put up. I dropped into a rando and Spider Taz was on my team, so I'll post that one up. It's you know, it's just a quickie shorty, so there's none of my babbling in there. Which, depending on what you're looking for, may or may not be a good thing. But I'll put that up there. I did record those squad sessions, but I don't know if I want to say anything bad about anything right now. I think I covered that well enough, because it wasn't about so much them being bad players as much as it was just not powerful enough to be able to get away with a 3 or 4 man squad. And it just goes back to the lesson: 2-man or 5 or 6. You know, unless you've got a group that's really jacked for their league, right? Otherwise it can be really tough. As always, I hope everything is going well for anyone that's listening to this. And as always, take care of yourself, people.